Mini camp, we've seen a couple of practices. The thing, DJ, that's jumped out to me has been the play of a couple of guys, at least based off of everyone talking about them.
Yeah.
I want to start with Kamari Lassiter, the second-round pick. A lot of people looked at him. He's a nickel corner. Is he actually going to have a chance to start on the outside? Is that between Jeffrey Okudah, C.J. Henderson, the former top 10 picks that have been on 3 teams in now 4 or 5 years? What have you seen out of Kamari Lassiter?
Yeah, I think he has, like, how do I put this? In terms of the lead, like, it's like if you start in a 400-meter race, he started at the 200 mark, and he only has 200 meters to go, and the rest of the guys are starting at the 400-meter mark.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, if he gets caught, then he gets caught. But it's that. Because, like, he ran with the ones. He's run with the ones the most. Like, out of all, we've been to 2 OTAs. We've been 2 OTAs and 2 mini-camp practices. He's run with the ones the majority of the time. Like, there was, like, a period. I remember the first one where you had, like, CJ and Jeff Okudah kind of rotating in. But then I remember the next OTA, it was just Kamari. I think along with, like, CJ. And then, like, obviously minicamp has just been exclusively him on the outside. He hasn't even done that many reps. Me and Cole
Thompson.
Yeah, Cole Thompson. We were talking about it. He said we haven't seen him take that many reps in the nickel. So he looks like he's gonna be on the outside.
Interesting.
And he has like a legitimate, because again, like,
they're not in pads, so a legitimate. What is
but
it?
cornerback play doesn't, like, switch that much from pads to, like.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I suppose if there's anything to judge, it's, hey, how are the corners looking against the wide receivers? And we've seen a couple of video highlights, at least, of Lassiter in coverage against Stefon Diggs and others. So, okay, what about him is standing out? Because obviously he's getting the most reps with the first team defense. Is it his ability to break on the ball, his speed? Because that was something that a lot of people were questioning. His 40 time was probably the reason that he fell to the second round, a guy coming out of Georgia.
I think so far what we've seen is, he puts himself in good position with his technique, and he's able to, like, break on the ball when necessary. He's able to transition into his breaks, out of his breaks pretty smoothly. Obviously his speed isn't, like, blazing, but he's not what the 4.6 says at the 40 time. I was talking to our front office guy. He said that he doesn't think he trained a lot for it, which might explain that. Now, I'm not 150% sure about that, but that's what one front office guy across the league told me.
Well,
but then again, like,
you ran track. I mean, it's a very unnatural position to get out of that kind of track stance versus NFL stance.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, again, like, some guys don't need to train for that. Some guys are just fast like that. So he's not a burner, but he's not. I don't think it's gonna be a situation where you have to worry about him really getting, like, burnt down the field consistently, because he just can't run with guys. So I would say that, those are things that kind of stood out about him. And yeah, I think he has, like, because the other thing too, like, from just a little bit of what we've seen, like, CJ and Jeff Okudah, like, it kind of showed a little bit, not too much, but a little bit of, like, why this is their third team in 5 seasons as 2 top 10 picks.
Right. Not an athleticism problem, maybe a knowing what you're supposed to do problem.
No, I think CJ Henderson actually still has really good athleticism.
Right, that's what I figured. Both of these guys, D'Amico talked them up.
I think Jeff
Okudah,
the injuries have taken a little bit of a toll on him. So, like, he kind of has to, like, be, like, I don't want to say perfect, but, like, his technique has to always be on point with everything from route recognition to reading the quarterback's eyes to breaking in and getting in and out of his breaks to being able to like, his technique has to be flawless. Because, like, he did tear his Achilles, and he wasn't a burner coming out. He ran like 4.5 coming out of Ohio State. He was known for really great technique. So I think he didn't have a great showing throughout OTAs and minicamp, but he'll have I don't think he's gonna get cut or anything once training camp comes around, but it's for sure Kamari. Kamari is younger. He's under contract for the next 4 years, and he's a second round pick. It just kind of behooves them if it's even close to just go with the young guy, because there's more upside there.
It's exciting to hear all of those things. In case you're just tuning in, DJ Bien-Aime with the ESPN. He's your Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN. We're talking about Kamari Lassiter, the second-round pick of the Texans. A little bit ago, DJ said, hey, if this is a 400-meter dash, Kamari Lassiter is starting at 200 meters away. Everyone else is far behind him. You had this tweet, and it also intrigues me. Now, this is a pretty loaded position group, seeing as they just added Stefon Diggs and Tank Dell is back, and Nico Collins just got that extension. Quote from DJ Bien-Aime on Twitter, I want to say an observation I've seen throughout the offseason. The explosiveness of John Metchie III appears to be back. He's positioning himself to make training camp a battle for playing time. What are you seeing from him?
Yeah, he looks a lot more explosive. I remember talking to him, cause I was, talking to him, interviewing him for a story regarding CJ. And then, we just chopped it up, just like about how he was feeling and things like that. I actually really like John. Like, he's actually really good guy to talk to and stuff like that. And he was just saying like he's a year removed from getting back from defeating cancer and a couple years removed from the ACL and tear and things of that nature. And it's just he now has had a full off season to just concentrate on getting back. I mean, to just building on what he built last year, right? Increasing his weight, becoming more explosive, becoming stronger, things like that, versus where you're just trying to just get back to where you were before. And where you were before necessarily isn't going to be good enough when you get into the NFL along with a layoff. So now he had a whole entire year of playing along with now a whole full offseason where he could just concentrate on his game and his athleticism and his strength and speed and agility. Now he looks like the guy that you take that they took in the second round, where you see some of the explosive and athleticism. Like me personally, if you have your top three, right? That's that. But I mean, like if he continues on this trajectory, because he's run with the ones at times. Candidly speaking, he's run with the ones a little bit from what we've seen more than Robert Woods. If it comes down to that point, like from a financial standpoint, it just makes sense because you could save up to
$5 million or so, right, with Woods.
Right, if you release Woods.
And Noah Brown's still working his way back from injury, right? So
right.
So another opportunity for Metchie on that front as well.
Yeah.
Sticking with the wide receivers, so we finally heard from Stefon Diggs after a rather long hiatus, considering the Texans got him 3 months ago, earlier this week. My impression watching the press conference, DJ, which I was not at, was, hey, he is trying to impress everybody here. It's almost like he is pressing the reset button, and we'll see how long that lasts. He's a wide receiver that's actually got pelts on the wall with what he's done in the league to this point. But what were your impressions hearing from Stefon for the first time? I know you were more curious than maybe other people that were at the press conference about, hey,
stuff.
What happened in Buffalo?
Yeah. So yeah, like to start off, I do agree with you that I don't honestly think he's trying to impress. I think he's being himself, and I think this environment is more conducive for a guy like Stefon Diggs. Also, like in all honesty, this team needed a little bit more a-holes. To be honest. Like last year, like they had when you think about it, if you look at the roster from last year. Right, and I'm not saying like Stefon is an a-hole, but like he kind of has that, like he's a little more edgy, right? Based on what we've seen in Buffalo, based on what we've seen in Minnesota. Based on last year, who was that edgy guy for the Texans?
Stroud's not that. Will Anderson's not that.
So Stroud he's edgy, but you're not gonna see it. He's a little edgy. He's for sure edgy. You're just not gonna see it. But like that over the kind of a little bit over the top. Only person we can really think about is Steven Nelson.
And he's not here.
If you look at the entire team, for real, who's going to really rock the boat at times, it was Steven Nelson. But, I mean, outside of that, I mean, they kind of need that next level edge of and I mean, Aziz is kind of in that boat too now. I mean, Will was talking about how,
it's a great story.
Will was pouting and he said, stop bleeping pouting.
We played the audio in the last segment. Yeah, I like hearing that. So, if you're looking for leadership, Al-Shaair is aboard and Diggs is aboard.
Yeah.
With Al-Shaair, I get the impression that, hey, there's not really any questions about how he'll be during rough time. Because he and DeMeco Ryans have a relationship going back to his time in San Francisco.
Right.
I feel like from his perspective, I think they got a great leader in Alshire. We'll see what he does actually on the field. He's going to have to prove it. I don't know if he's Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, something like that. But hey,
I don't think so either.
But hey, at the very least, hey, there's somebody in the middle of that defense that's got that edge.
Right.
But to bring it back to Stefon Diggs, everything we're seeing at first is great, and hopefully it lasts.
And they like him so far. You know what I'm saying? His teammates are gravitating towards him. But with everybody that goes to a new team, the first few months are great. It's like when you get in a new relationship, right? This is like the best person you've ever dated in your entire life, and then like by like month 4, you find out that they don't wipe after they use the bathroom.
Ew. Is that personal experience?
No, that's not personal experience. That's not personal. I'm just saying it was the first thing that came to my mind. I just say, let me just say it. Sometimes my friends, they say I got CTE, so sometimes that's my CTE brain.
All right,
but so like. He and CJ made a good point that Stefon wanted to be around dogs. And I think the label about him being a diva, I don't think he's actually a diva at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just ultra competitive and wants to win by any means necessary. I'm going to get the ball. But by any means necessary. And I think that sometimes if it doesn't look like that, he can get extremely frustrated. And I think he's not Antonio Brown, right? He's not Terrell Owens. I'm trying to think who are some other divas that we've thought about like that are whatever. But those two are like the main guys
Brown
that we know are divas, right?
Yeah.
Stefon just wants to win, and CJ mentioned that Stefon wanted to be on a team that was surrounded by dogs, and everywhere he looks, he has dogs to lean on and things of that nature. So I think I think it's gonna work. I don't think there's gonna be he's on a 1-year deal anyway. So I don't think there's gonna be any like legitimate issues where he's quote unquote rocking the boat. One, because I think CJ's good enough to like he's gonna make sure he's fed. Bobby's gonna make what we've seen him how he was using Stefon. Stefon's gonna get a target a lot. People talk about it to be 3,000-yard receivers. That's not happening. No shot. That's not happening. But I do think that from a financial standpoint, the Texans are going to want to get their money's worth. So Stefon's going to get a lot of targets. Nico's going to get a lot of targets. Obviously, Tank is going to fit into that mold where he can fit into that mold. I think he'll still get some targets. But I think overall, between the three, it could be a really dynamic group. By obviously, I don't anticipate 3,000-yard receivers, but I can anticipate Nico maybe with like 13, Stefon with like 11, and like Tank with like 750, 800.
Yeah, I would bet all three of them are over 700. And again, if you're freaking out about how many yards they get in an offense that has this many receivers, I think you're missing the big picture here.
Right.
Now, as far as Diggs and the time in Buffalo, he did kind of tap dance around questions about the pass. He mentioned the coaching change, and it's ironic. The coaching change did result in more wins for Buffalo. And I mean, the last image that we have of Stefon Diggs in Buffalo was that drop that he had against the Kansas City Chiefs. Is that a fair way to characterize his entire year last year? No, he was good in the first half of the season.
Yeah, then the second half he went both. I went back and rewatched the film regarding Stefon. Obviously, I think how do I frame this? Like, he can still get vertical, but he's way more lethal in the intermediate game. He can still really separate the top of his routes. And it looked like there was an emphasis into obviously running the ball more. And I think him and Josh just weren't on the same page. Like, there were a lot of plays where like Stefon is running the route, he's wide open, and then like Josh misses him, and he just has his arms out So I think it was more that. I don't think that, the second half where he went his last 13 games without 100 yards is indicative of him being washed. I don't think it's nearly that at all in that regard. Like, watching the Mini-Camp, he can still separate laterally, and that's one of the most important things for a receiver is can they separate laterally if they're not like 6'4", 5'6", whatever. So I still think he can play, but yeah, I do wish that we would have asked a little bit more questions about his time in Buffalo, because that's the national story regarding Stefon Diggs. Like, the guy signed a 4-year, $104 million contract extension in, what was that, in 2022?
Yeah, not that long ago.
And 2 years later, he gets dealt. You know what I'm saying?
And on
not
the
even
Twitch,
for the first round pick. He gets traded for a second round pick.
Yeah, and on the
following
Twitch,
year,
exactly. And on top of that, I mean, they adjusted his contract as pointed out on the Twitch.
Yeah,
I mean, clearly they want him to prove many things, not just that he can still play, but also that he can buy in. And as you said, he's saying all the right things. Great, but whether it's a new relationship or it's a new job, like, of course at first it's gonna go great.
Exactly. So I do wish we could have as a whole,
I agree with you.
into that a little bit, Mark. I think that's just way more important. That's relevant to the team now because your past is an indication can be an indicator of your future, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a lazy, no good, eat chips all day type of guy, you might get fired from your job because you're gonna one day be up all, or let's say if you're a consistent partier, you party all day, all night, whatever. Eventually, it's gonna catch up with your job because that's who you are. That's your past experiences, and then if you don't at least acknowledge like, hey, I need to work on this, work on that, then like you're gonna continue to repeat the same things.
Yeah.
I will give Coach T. Davis of SI. He did ask like, what are some things that you could take away from your experiences in Buffalo and in Minnesota, and he did give a good answer and just a sense of putting in more time and things of that nature. But yeah, I wish we could have for sure asked more questions about like what got us to this point versus like him being here now. Because when has a guy ever got traded and like people are and he gets to the new team and the first press conference, he's like, man, I hate it here.
Yeah.
Boy, these players around me suck. The quarterback can't throw. The offensive coordinator don't know what he's doing. I hate the head coach. Everybody, they're always gonna say the nice thing. Now you gotta ask that regardless, because at the end of the day, like when you do need those quotes, at least want to hear that, because you never know, they might say that. Like when Zach Wilson was asked, like, after they scored 3 points, he was like, hey, like, did you guys let the defense down? Nope.
It would have been really funny if someone at the press conference yesterday asked, like, what was your favorite Stefon Diggs, what was your favorite Sean McDermott motivational speech? That's what I kind of wanted to hear.
That would have been crazy. That'd have been crazy for sure. I asked Devin Singletary about the infamous one, and he was just like, what? Like, why is he saying this? Like, what?
What? I don't understand how anyone's supposed to react when you hear that from your coach. Like, if I did that, I feel like at least people would know I'm being sarcastic or ironic. Maybe they wouldn't. But if you're Sean McDermott doing that, I mean, what do you think people are going to do?
In a press conference, like, and it's not even like he asks a question, like, asking like, how you think they were able to execute that. Dude, what? Imagine hearing that at 8 o'clock in the morning, like, you get in there,
wake you up.
You're like, what?
That's smelling salts. That's a little bit of 5-hour energy.
Yeah, that's something you like. Once you get out of that meeting, you're talking to your teammates about it, and you're for sure calling one of your friends like, yo, like my coach just asked me about like how they was able to execute an attack on 9/11. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
See,
proper thing to use historically would have been today, because it's today's D-Day. I was not alive during that. Just took the joke away from you.
What? Y'all know he got on a Larry Bird jersey?
Yeah, I got a Larry Bird jersey on right now.
He got it at Larry Bird's debut.
I met Larry Bird when I was 6 before my first Celtics game.
You met him.
That was in 1995.
No, you met him at his debut.
Well, you know what? Considering that was 1979, I look effing good. That wasn't nice. That was that pause, that silence. That wasn't nice. So you can get out of my studio. He is DJ Bien-Aime. DJ, always a pleasure, buddy. DJ, you can catch his work on Twitter covering the Houston Texans and at ESPN.com